All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started here. Let me start by saying welcome to everyone to Impact Dashboard Confidential. My name is Paul Shurin, and I'm an economist and partner with Impact Data Source. Thank you for joining us today for our third of our five-part webinar series where we're hearing from some of our Impact Dashboard users. Today, we have Christina Morris from Osceola County, Florida with us. We've worked with Christina for several years now, and like a lot of our clients, she was using our desktop version of our model before switching over to our online model, Impact Dashboard, in just the last few months. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to hear from our last two guests. We can see the schedule there on our slide, and I am going to turn things over here to Christina in just a moment, but let me mention a couple things. So the background here is just to give you some context for what Impact Dashboard is and what Impact Data Source is. As I mentioned, my name is Paul Shurin. I'm an economist with Impact Data Source, our company. Many of you may know my partner or have worked with my partner, Jerry Walker. He started the company in 1993, and so we have over 20 years of experience evaluating economic development projects. We're almost exclusively focused on economic development impact analysis, but we work two different ways. First off, we license computer models or software so clients can do their own studies, and so that's what Christina in Osceola does. She uses Impact Dashboard, but we also prepare impact study on an as-needed or on a one-by-one basis instead of the annual subscription. We also have a couple podcasts that might be interesting to economic developers, so I would recommend checking those out. Economic Development Secrets are interviews with economic developers, and 123 CECD is more geared toward the process to become a certified economic developer. The last thing here before we turn it over to Christina is just to kind of give a background on Impact Dashboard, the software that we're talking about today. Essentially, Impact Dashboard is an impact analysis for economic developers. So you're interested in knowing the economic impact about the spin-off jobs. You also want to understand how the taxes are going to affect the city or the county or the school district. And in a lot of cases, you're also considering some sort of tax exemption or tax abatement or other type of incentive. And so Impact Dashboard can incorporate all of those components for you. So from the economic impact, the fiscal impact, and those incentives, and tie that all together. And so with that, I'm going to turn things over to Christina. If you have any questions as we go along here, feel free to type those into the GoToWebinar question section. The other thing is we are recording this, so we will make the video available after this. But with that, I'm going to see if I can switch over to Christina here and let her take it away.
Good afternoon, this is Christina. And am I switched over? Hold on just a second.
We can hear you, but we're still waiting on your screen here. There we go. Thanks.
Okay, so everybody can see my screen, I'm assuming. I'll just go through my presentation. So Christina Morris with Osceola County. Like Paul mentioned, we've been using Impact Data Source for a couple of years, only a couple of months with the new online dashboard. So I'll be talking about that model today. So why we use the model? To understand project impact on our local government. So I work for the local county government, but the model also shows us impact to our two cities. If the project is in the city, it also does our water management district and, more importantly, our school board. So it provides impact for not just us as a government, but kind of all the governments that have a stake in projects. So shows ROI on potential incentives. So if we're looking at providing a project incentives, it'll show the ROI on that. It also helps us when we're talking to our counterparts at the city. If we want them to come in on that incentive project, it'll show the impact to them, which kind of gives us leverage if we're asking them to go half on an incentive package. They can kind of really see the ROI that's specific to them. So that's always helpful. And then third-party validation. So this software is set up by economists who kind of know what they're doing and look at Osceola County specific taxes and what's common to us to come up with stuff that's happening in our area. So third-party validation, and definitely because it's easy to use. So very user-friendly kind of template model. It kind of walks you through everything, and you'll see some of my print screens on the next slide to kind of show you how easy it is. So when do we use the model? Again, I deal a lot in the traditional economic development projects, so headquarter locations, distribution, that type of thing. But we have been asked or have been involved in using it for tourism-related projects, just because you'll notice on the data requests, there are questions like if there's any room nights associated with this project. And sometimes in a traditional economic development project, there is, but not a lot of times. And then in the tourism-related projects, that's a big thing for them. So we have used our model to run reports for tourism related projects, which is a little bit outside of what we normally do, but the model is actually set up to kind of capture that impact as well. So that's kind of nice. And then any type of project, which is how we kind of got roped into the tourism related projects, pretty much any project requesting incentives, I may get a call saying, hey, can you run your model for that? And then so far we've been able to use this particular economic development model to run most of any of the other types of projects requesting incentives. So hotel projects, and then some, I think we used it for soccer fields and all kinds of cool stuff. So that's what we use it for. So you need the data in order to run the model. So there's kind of two ways to collect the data. Impact data source kind of has a spreadsheet, and if you get that spreadsheet filled out with as much information as possible, you should be able to fairly easily run the model. So you can either send the Excel spreadsheet directly from the website, and then we also have it that we can email it directly to the client. Again, you want to make sure you gather as much information as possible, with the most important information on, for us, is job schedule, how they will be creating the jobs, what the average wage is for those jobs, and what their capital investment, either in equipment or renovations to a building. So those are some of the most important information we gather. Again, sometimes we don't know how much their permits are going to be, because that's part of the information gathering, or we don't know if they're going to have room nights. So we can leave those blank and still get a pretty good output on the model, as long as we have that core information. So getting started, this is just a screenshot of my dashboard, and you'll see I have 4 projects currently there. Project is a sample that I kind of did for this webinar. But if you click on new project, a screen pops up for you to name that project. And so project appears, and now you can either send the requested data Excel spreadsheet directly from the model, or if you've already emailed that and got it back, then you can input that directly yourself. So another screenshot of what it looks like if you're going to actually email that spreadsheet from the model. So it kind of gives them instructions on what they need to do and allows them to send it back to you as well, or to save and come back. So that's a nice feature that wasn't available on the desktop model. And then project scenarios, also something a little bit easier than the desktop model. It allows you to kind of set up different scenarios, and you can kind of see them as you set them up. So entering project information, you'll enter general information first. It'll kind of ask you what is this project about, and then it'll take you through all the stuff on the left. So the jobs, workers relocating, salary, capital investment, and if you have any information on building and permit fees, you can enter that in. And it kind of goes through a template. So as you fill out one section, you'll see other jobs that says continue, and it'll take you right to the next section, which is salaries, and so on and so forth. So very user friendly. And then this is just a screenshot that shows you the different scenarios that I set up. So if I wanted to have a scenario where we're only offering tax abatement, and then I did another scenario where we're offering tax abatement and also a job or a job cash incentive as well. So you can set up as many of those as you need to, and it's a quick little drop down so you know which ones you're working with. So then after you enter the data, there's a couple of different ways you can present the results. There's a summary report and a detailed report. Most often, I only print out the summary report because this report goes to county administration when we've kind of, on the back of a napkin, thought, I think we'll give them X number of dollar in incentives. I'll run that through the model and print out this one pager that lists all the impacts all in one sheet. And it's very easy for our county administration to look and see what the net benefit is with the incentives given. So you'll kind of see, it says value of property tax abatement. You can very easily see how much that property tax abatement is going to cost us. So our reports so far stay within our department and county administration. We have shared them with the project when asked, but that's not something that we normally do. It's usually a tool we use internal, and we share them with county commissioners when we're going one-on-one, but it's usually an internal document, but we have shared it with the project before. And then there's also a detailed report that'll walk you through how they got to the direct impacts for the county. And if you keep scrolling, which I did print out, it does the same detail for the cities as well as the school board and the water management district. So the detailed report, there's also a print button, a nice report. You can print that out. Again, what we use most often is the summary report, just because it's a one-pager. And if you don't do this every day, it gives them exactly what they're looking for on the county administration level. And then just some additional information to note is there's a user guide that's contained in the in this model, and it gives a lot of the detail as far as how they came up with the different formulas, what's being used. So a lot of times we may, what is the depreciation schedule for the equipment is found in that user guide that you'll find online. And also you can override most of the default formulas. So for workers relocating, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the default on that was 17.5%. But let's say you're working with a project and you know that 50% of the workers are going to be relocating. You can override that formula so that those will carry throughout the ROI. And then when in doubt, I always email Paul or call Paul, who responds to me quite quickly or answers all my questions. So great customer service from Impact Data Source. And I was not paid to say that. So that's all I have. If you guys have any questions.
Thanks. Thanks, Christina. That's great. I appreciate it. If anyone has questions, they can feel free to type those in now in the questions panel there. But I'll kind of follow up on one of the questions. You had mentioned that it was kind of rare, but in some cases you did provide reports that come out of the model to the actual business or prospective business. Can you talk a little bit about that? What was the, what was the context, and were you trying to tell them, what were you trying to communicate in that, or were they just curious about how the process came together?
So usually when they ask for us to share that, it's because they don't agree with our numbers. Naturally, and it's been on the tourism side, and I can tell you that after we shared it, they agreed. And so in order to make their project look better, what they did, because this model only goes out 10 years, what they did was they went and hired a third-party consultant, and they took it out 30 years. But I can tell you that the first 10 years looked exactly maybe a couple of dollars different, but are real close to what we presented them in our 10-year report. So that was good to see.
That's funny. Well, that's good to hear that you're using it kind of in that way to kind of, make your point and have them, understand the numbers that you're looking at. So very interesting.
Go to the detail and kind of see what we plugged in and how the model calculated on years 1 through 10, which was nice. So in that particular instance, we had to kind of pull down the detail.
Right. Well, I'm not seeing any questions here, so I think everybody's good. But like I said, we recorded this, so we'll be able to send out the link to everyone here. Certainly if there's any questions, feel free to follow up with me directly. Paul@impactdatasource.com is the email address. And again, Christina, thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I'm really excited that you've switched over to Impact Dashboard. And hopefully, we've got a lot of changes in store for that. So hopefully you'll continue to find it to be a great model for you.
Great. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.